Hey guys, it's Swang. Welcome back to another video, and in this video I'll be talking about something that people might not think too much about when making their webtoons, which is backgrounds. Because a lot of the times I find that the most time-consuming part is actually creating the backgrounds. So if you have a really smooth and efficient and high-quality workflow for creating your backgrounds when making a webtoon, this can really make or break your series concerning just how sustainable you can keep it up every single week and also how good it looks. Every single series is different, and for all of the projects that I've worked on, all of their processes for making backgrounds is also different. So it really is up to you and what works best for you and what works best for your style of production and your series. But in my experience working on multiple projects and the different kinds of workflow we developed when working on backgrounds, I can share a little bit of my tips and tricks and tidbits on how we ended up speeding the process in order to make backgrounds, and give some useful advice for you guys and useful resources for when you are starting out your webtoon and you want to make sure everything looks good right off the bat. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first tip is actually making the most use out of the backgrounds that you already have created and accumulated. Artists are really smart about how they utilize the backgrounds that they have created in a way that it really maximizes every single asset that they have. So I'll bring an example, Spells from Hell. If you guys may know, Lenny is the amazing background artist for this series, and me, Lenny, Silka, who is the main artist, and also Maria, who is the editor and art designer for the team. We work together to really create these magnificent backgrounds to really bring out the qualities of each clan and the qualities of this Eastern meets Western world. So in order to do that, we had to create a lot of environments and we had to create a lot of different scenes and backgrounds. And the way that we did that actually was we created a main asset. Right off the bat, we created a scene or like a really long panel that really shows off the kind of vibes of the place and the main impact that we wanted to give to show the audience. And so this is kind of the first exposition scene that we set, and for this example I will use the Yellow Dragon clan as my example. In the episode we basically showed the clan in all of its glory. We introduced Willow and we introduced the yellow ginkgo tree that kind of is the symbol of the Yellow Dragon clan. And so Silka and Lenny worked together to create this really amazing just kind of scene of what the Yellow Dragon clan looked like, and we ended up using that little panel like so many times throughout the series. It was very, very easy to add in backgrounds for the rest of the panels because all we did was we just took bits and pieces of that really nice, magnificent panel and we resized it and, you know, kind of juxtaposed it into other panels, and then we put a little Gaussian blur filter on it, and boom, with that you could still see that, you know, they were in that scene, and we didn't have to put in more effort and draw more scenes or more panels. As the series grew, our assets also grew. We got to see different parts of the Yellow Dragon clan, such as the library, the room where Maya practices kung fu for the students, and, you know, all these different environments. So it just became way easier for Lenny to work on backgrounds because the more that she worked on it, the more assets grew and the more she compiled things that she could just reuse to put into a panel so that she doesn't have to draw things over and over again. So this definitely works for people who want to do 2D backgrounds, and it also works for people who want to do 3D backgrounds. Now for 3D models, I will dive more into that in my next point because, drumroll please, this video is actually sponsored by ACON3D, which is an online asset library. So yes, my second point. Take advantage of online resources. There are so many talented people out there that have created all of these amazing assets and are just so generous and kind to just put it up on the internet for everyone to share. I promise you it's not cheating, and especially when you're making something like creating a webtoon every single week or whatever your deadline is, it's super, super, super important to utilize all of the resources that you can at your fingertips. And so I really highly encourage you guys to research and look more into online resources. You would be amazed to see how much faster and how much better quality you can produce your webtoons just by downloading a couple of assets that are really helpful helpful for your story. So ACON3D is an online asset library that is available for artists all around the world, and it is actually specifically tailored for webtoons. There are so many webtoons and just really popular webtoons in Korea that also use ACON3D and the assets that they have on there. So this is a very well-known platform, and a platform that a lot of people who make webtoons is aware about. An example of a webtoon that you guys may already know that also uses ACON3D is Wishroomness's Nice to Meet You. Definitely a lot of other stories on Webtoon also use ACON3D. So if you're not aware about it, this is the time for you to get to know more about ACON3D, because I promise you it's very, very useful for your webtoon creation process. So on ACON3D, there's a lot of high quality premium assets that you can't find on any other library or platform. So definitely take a look at the assets that they have and see which ones are most suitable for your story. You can filter through the website in order to figure out what kind of assets that you're looking for. You can either sort it by how much money you're willing to pay. There are some assets on there that are free. So yes, you can download free assets on there if you'd like, and some of them are as cheap as $5, $3, $10, and then they go insofar as the really, really amazing high bundle kind of assets that go for a lot of money, say like 100 plus. And so you can really filter through and just kind of look at what kind of budget you have, how much you're willing to spend, and download those assets accordingly. You can also search in the search bar, and then also look into the categories that they already have divided for you, so that you can take a look at whichever assets you need for your particular genre or story. And I will say that I highly recommend investing a little bit on something that you think will last and just really speed up the process for you for your whole entire series. And so I think this really has to do with thinking critically about what kind of series you want to make. Say if it's a story about a cafe, really investing in on getting a nice cafe asset so that every single scene that takes place in a cafe, you don't have to think about, you know, creating that asset from scratch, finding someone to create the asset from scratch, or just redrawing it every single time. It is just there, you download it, and you already have that asset set for your whole entire series. And I think this is really, really important for those where the environment is really critical for the story, such as if your story is a period piece, or if your story is about, you know, a princess and a prince, like it's set in like a kingdom kind of vibe. These kinds of stories really, really, really have a lot of environment heavy kind of scenes and models, and it kind of does make or break the series, because if the immersion isn't there, then your story isn't as compelling. So if you're thinking about a story that has really complex assets, definitely consider investing in a couple pieces, a couple models to help support you in your creation journey, and just take that stress off your shoulders so that you can really focus on the story, really focus on the characters, really focus on the paneling, things of that sort. So this is my third tip, and this might be something that you guys probably already recognize, but not every single panel has to have a background. And you notice when you read webtoons, there are some times where the background is empty, there's a solid color, there's some kind of other pattern in the background just to spice it up a little bit. If it doesn't make or break the story to not have that background in there, then you really, really, really don't have to draw it. As long as the story is still compelling, as long as readers can understand where the story is going and understand that they're still in the same location, you don't need to include backgrounds for every single panel. Actually, not having backgrounds and swapping it for something else can actually heighten the story and create a little bit more spice, you know what I mean? But we did this a lot for Night Owls and Summer Skies as well. A lot of the times, you know, we just used a simple gradient or a bright color to really kind of emphasize the comedy or the romance, or just really have it focused on the two characters. And not only that, a lot of webtoon creators as well, and this is something that we did in Night Owls and Summer Skies, put in little assets like flowers and like gorgeous patterns or like effects to really heighten that panel without the need for a background. And I am pleased to show you guys that actually ACON3D also has 2D assets as well. Things like leaves, flowers, special effects, speech bubbles, all of these kinds of things you can also filter and download on the website. And this is something that we do pretty frequently in Night Owls and Summer Skies. Instead of a background of the scene, everything changes to pink flowy flowers. Flower assets like these can be found on ACON3D as well. You can draw them in yourself. You can find trees, leaves, all sorts of things, skies, filters, all sorts of really cool crazy stuff, even like rain. So anything you want to just kind of spice up or decorate your panels, you can also find on ACON3D or create yourself. So just know that not every single panel needs to have a background, and actually sprinkling in some panels with different things in the background can really help elevate that panel, elevate the dialogue, elevate the character. So really thinking critically about how you can save your time and how you can maximize your time saved so that it actually contributes more to the story. That is some big brain stuff there. So yeah, when you are starting out your webtoon and you have the story in place and you're ready to start creating, think critically first about how you are going to create those backgrounds and put in some pre-production time, accumulating all of that and having all of those things ready before you dive in, or even as you continue working throughout the series, just accumulating more and more assets to help you throughout your journey can really help just not only keep the quality of your webtoon very seamless, very high quality, but also make sure you don't stress yourself out working so hard creating your webtoon, because obviously you want to enjoy the process. So definitely, if you haven't heard about ACON3D, if you haven't heard about just all of these tips and tricks that I shared in this video, hopefully this video was of help to you. I have left the link to ACON3D in the description, and also I have a referral link. So if you use my referral link, you can actually have a discount for your downloads. So without further ado, I bless you to make the best webtoon that you can. I will see you guys in the next video. Happy creating!